What do you think happens to these prisons though once the Empire falls? You think she's still sitting in there?
Oh,
Oh
that's a
man,
good point.
I like that. Yeah,
She's in
interesting.
the program now that the
She
New
might have
Republic
she might
did.
have snuck off somewhere to a corner of the galaxy.
Andor is over. I think the season was good. We're obviously going to talk about it. Good finale. Well, I think we have maybe some differing opinions on different parts of the finale, but that's what the conversation is for.
Good thing.
So, yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, welcome back to the Force of Friends. You got me, you got Kevin, you got Ryan. Make sure you sub to Ryan. I'll put his information below. You can sub to Kevin as well. He doesn't have any reason to subscribe to him, but I could put it down there. So if I wanted to.
Sorry, you will get nothing out of subscribing to me.
Here's the deal: if you find Kevin's account on YouTube, kudos to you. I'm not going to link it, so that's going to be like the scavenger hunt. You got it. It will be a deep cut from the Force with Friends podcast if you can find what Kevin's username is and then post it. So yeah, that'll be a little task for everybody. So what we'll do, per the usual, we'll start off with our grades, then we'll talk about the episode. But today we're also going to talk about our top 3 moments from the whole season. I thought about the whole series, but it's hard to knock it down to 3 for the whole series.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
We'll just do for this season.
Yeah.
So yeah, grades, just to start off, I can throw mine out there and then let y'all talk, I guess. Grade for this arc as a whole. Looking back at my previous arc grades, I went 7.5 for the first arc, 7.5 for the second, 10 for the third. I'm gonna go 9 for this one.
Okay, trying to remember. I think I gave first one a 9.
You were 9, 7.5,
7.5, 10.
Yep.
And I'm going 8 on this one.
8. Okay.
Gosh,
you're so negative.
I love so much about this arc, but there's just 2 things that bother me. So
yeah,
and they're personal things. They're not like bad acting. It's just things I didn't like. So
yeah, Ryan.
Every arc. I guess I would go 9, 8, 10, 10.
9, 8, 10, 10. Okay. Very good. 10, 10.
Nice.
So we all have a different score on this one, which is fun.
That's true. Yeah.
Now, I will say all scores being an 8 or above. I mean, it speaks kind of credence to the season. But, and then I would say season as a whole. Andor is I think it's a 10 for me as a whole. Right?
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, that third arc was just so strong. I think that it all kind of built to it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. I think my overall enjoyment of the entire season was high enough to cover up the spots I didn't like in a few of the episodes. So I mean, I would give it a 10. I think
it's a 9 at really the lowest for me.
Yeah,
like if it dipped any. Ryan, you got it a 10 as well.
Yeah, I go 10, and actually I go 9, 9, 10, 10.
9,
I'm thinking about it more. Yeah, but 10 overall for sure.
Now, season 1 or season 2? What do y'all like better? I think I'm going season 2.
2, for sure.
That's hard for me.
I put you on the spot.
Yeah, I think I liked season 1 more consistently, but season 2 has much better spots.
Right.
That's a hard comparison.
Right. It is, and it could be recency bias too.
Yes, I was gonna say we just finished it. Also, season 1, I'm always going to think back and think like it was a really slow build because you had to wait so many weeks for the payoff. And season 2, we didn't. It was instant gratification. So
yeah, true.
I think if I watched them in arcs, maybe it would be different. I don't know.
There were some deadish episodes in some of these arcs, but it didn't feel that way because
you got it
part of the picture. So
yeah,
very
I thought this was
smart
a great way to do it.
Yep, very smart to go about it. We'll be interested to see if Disney does this some more. But let's move into our finale talk. So really, I think there's only 2 big points for us to kind of hover around. We'll tie up some loose ends, I'm sure, at the end of it. But the big ones being Luthen and Clea, and then you've got Cassian, right? That's the 2 big ones because Cassian in the rebellion. I mean, he fits into both of these stories. We'll talk about him in both. But I mean, he was absent from one entire episode. I don't know. But you've got Cassian relating to the rebellion, also bringing Clay into it. So we'll hit everything else in between. But talking that Luthen arc, were y'all expecting an entire episode to be a love letter to Luthen?
Honestly, no. It was a nice surprise, but I wasn't expecting it this, late in the series and the finale. But I liked it. I thought it was a great thing to do.
Yeah, I kind of thought we'd get some big Luthen stuff, but I didn't expect it all to be kind of wrapped up episode 1. Right. Or the first episode of the arc. I mean, it moved very quickly. It was a lot to kind of take in at one time. I just didn't expect it all to be on the front end, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of. I expected Luthen to go out in a blaze of glory. That obviously did not happen. He dies on a hospital bed with the life support pulled, which is kind of very anticlimactic. We texted about this, Kevin. Like, that was very anticlimactic for him. It's almost like they had to throw in all those other flashbacks just to like make up for how boring that. Not boring in a bad way, but it was just mundane, right? Like, I mean, tens of millions of people die that way all the time, not intentionally like that, but you know what I mean. Like, it's just he died in a hospital. That's a normal thing. There's not a lot of normal things happening in Andor, so I was kind of surprised at that. Also surprised it took up a third of the arc. I thought that was a lot of time dedicated not to Cassian. But the more I've thought about it, looking at the story, this season, really, the whole season has shifted a lot of focus to Rebellion versus Cassian anyways, and him just kind of fitting into it. When we get to Rogue One, he's not the main character of Rogue One anyways, so I'm more fine with it the more I think about it. But it was a lot of time dedicated not to Cassian.
Yeah, you could probably say that for the whole season. There were spots where he kind of faded into the background. It really did become a show about all these puzzle pieces that kind of happen to fall into the same area and kind of fit together. And Luthen, I mean, he's obviously been a big part from the beginning. He's kind of been the core of this idea about sacrifice, right? And I feel like the show has been really heavy on this theme of giving up, sacrifice, and what you sacrifice. We see it with a lot of the different characters. And he's kind of at the core of that, right? With the speech in season 1. And so, I think it's fitting. He got some time here at the end.
Ryan, what did you think?
I didn't mind it. It didn't bother me that, he was in the hospital and she took him off life support. But honestly, and I think, I'm sure a lot of people felt this way, but I really thought when they showed him from behind, he was going to have a detonator in his hand and he was just going to blow up the shop. And that would be the end of both of them. So that
I was pulling for that.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, this is going to be crazy. But then also, I don't know if you want to bring this up yet, the ending for the other character, or if you want to wait.
We'll wait.
Okay.
So,
but I liked it though. I didn't mind.
I'm kind of glad he went out the way he did. I didn't really want a blaze of glory for Luthen because he doesn't. I feel like that's part of that speech in season 1 is he doesn't deserve it, right? Like, he acknowledges he's a bad person.
Yeah.
We see it on display right at the beginning of this episode with Lonnie.
Poor Lonnie.
Yeah.
Like, I think in hindsight, I feel like that's like the worst thing Luthen's done, right? Is like,
yes, he brings up his wife and kids every time they talk.
Well, and Lonnie,
that was brutal.
Lonnie's probably the guy who has been at most at risk throughout the entire show, right? I mean, he's in the ISB, done what Luthen's asked. Luthen's been a jerk to him, constantly talking down to him. And, this is the one time Luthen speaks nicely to Lonnie, and it's because he needs the information before he kills him. Like, it's just awful. And so, I think Luthen's that character who I think his death fits in with his speech. Like, he goes out of nobody, quietly, in the shadows. That's where he made his stand, in the shadows. And so I appreciate that he didn't get the hero's send off because
that's fair.
That's not who he was, right? Now, he knew that. That's what his speech was in season 1. He's like, I'm not the hero. And so I think it worked out. I think it was good.
Lonnie legit is like the guy that gets the ball rolling for the rebellion. Also, I mean, you talk about who deserves the medal on Yavin. Lonnie gets the information. Like he's the one who, when it's all said and done, he's had this information for years, and he's like, okay, now's the time. And he gets in and he finds what he needs. And it's unfortunate it ended poorly for him. I think we kind of thought that was going to have to happen anyways. You just kind of hate how it happened, that Luthen is the guy who does it. But then we get to where Dedra, her entire, because this Andor, very character driven. It's probably the best thing about it, that Dedra, who from the beginning has kind of been after Luthen, and she finally finds him here. She's got the cavalry. She's got Luthen, and Luthen decides to take matters into his own hand. But when she pulls out that apparatus from Andor season 1,
that was great.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that was very good. Tying it all together, and it's like, oh man, she knows. And then at that point, he kind of like poetically weaves it around, like, we've been hunting for each other this whole time. I thought that was really good, but it did move very fast, like how quick Luthen was down. Yeah. And then, again, Ryan, I agree with you 100%. I thought he was going to blow the whole thing up.
Yeah.
That would have been cool if Dedra went out that way, I think. Like, that would have been a cool ending for her, but we'll talk about her ending as well. I think that's also fitting, that she's kind of the victim of her own devices, which is, you love it for the Empire when that happens.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with that. But you get into this deal where Luthen's whole thing is a flashback. So you realize that he rescues Kleya, kind of like she's on a ship. He's fighting some battle. We don't exactly, from what little digging I did, we don't figure out what he's fighting, who he's fighting for. Yeah. As far as the timeline goes, it would really go back probably to like the Clone Wars, or just some skirmish, just looking at how young she was versus where she is in Andor. So I don't think this is like an Imperial thing. Maybe just Grand Army of the Republic before clones, or not Grand Army, but Army of the Republic before clones, stuff like that.
Yeah. How old do we think? I mean, how old do we think Kleya is?
Maybe early 30s.
Yeah, late 20s, early 30s is what I would think. And she looked to be like 10, 12 early on.
She was young, yeah.
And this would be 10 years, 20 years. I don't know. I guess it could have been early Empire, because this is like 20 years after.
That's true.
Revenge of the Sith. So maybe it was early Empire. Could be. But either way, you get him kind of rescuing and then indoctrinating her for a little bit. I thought that it was cool to see her character built up. Odd spot for it, but it was cool to watch, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. The flashback, I think, was vague intentionally. I don't think they wanted people poking with a fine-tooth comb to try to draw out all the little details. I think that was by design, which is a little bit of a bummer because we still don't know a ton about Luthen. Apparently he had a wife. We don't know what happened to her, and at least he says that, if that was even true. Like we don't know. Like this flashback, it shows us how he meets Kleya, obviously, but other than that, it doesn't tell us anything about him, which I was kind of hoping for. But yeah, no, I think it sets up their relationship appropriately. Like it's two people with a lot of hatred for this empire, and they are on a course together to fix it. And I love the way he's like teaching her patience. Like, we got to wait. Like, this isn't time to strike, and then showing her how to blow up things. It's really nice father-daughter moments.
Sometimes.
No, so I thought it was a good introduction to them, even if it wasn't super informative.
A good introduction to them with 2 episodes to spare in the whole series.
Yeah, right.
Ryan, what did you think of the flashbacks?
After this, I mean, I want probably never happened, but I want Luthen and Kevin. You want it?
What?
We all want this backstory. What you're saying?
Oh yeah. Luthen and Kleya Star Wars story. I want to see more of the time he finds her to when we get to Andor, season 1.
I think that would be so fun, because there is no like fooling what's going on in this, because in this show you're kind of like, oh well, the rebellion's more good than Luthen, who is maybe more good than Saw Gerrera, but they're all in the same thing. If you're just watching a Luthen story, you know where everything stands.
Yeah,
he's against the Empire at all costs, and so I would really like that. It would almost be like a Star Wars version of Grand Theft Auto or something like that, like no rules, a much more patient version, but still like we go by our own rules and we're taking the Empire out at all costs. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, on the current side of these flashbacks, you've got her breaking into this hospital single-handedly.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, I will say it's not that difficult to get around a hospital without people noticing you. I'll say that. I will also say that I feel like it would be difficult with the ISB there, though. So I'm kind of shocked that she pulls it all off. I mean, obviously, she blows some stuff up as a decoy, but the Empire always is disorganized and incompetent when it matters. And that's one thing that really stays true all the way through. Like even your Krennic is incompetent to certain things. The Emperor is incompetent to his own pride, right? Like it's always something big that ruins their whole shtick, and happens again in Andor. They blow something up, and everybody they have goes to check on it, and so she's able to sneak all the way through this hospital, get to Luthen, do what she has to do. I did think that the tension was pretty good in her sneaking through the hospital, because it was going to be hard to build on that tension and pacing from the last arc, and I don't think they quite captured it here, but it still kind of kept you engaged when she's working her way through.
I love that for her. Her character definitely deserves something like that.
Yeah.
And just the whole spy sneaky thing, I totally forgot, but Tony wrote the Bourne movies, or at least the 3, I think, the first 3.
Interesting.
So when I was watching that, I was like, okay. I was like, so yeah, he definitely had a hand in this. So I liked that. I liked that whole thing. It was, just the action and everything. I was like, this is great. I was like, he's really good at this. I want to see more of this.
No, I didn't know that, but that makes a lot more sense after watching, especially the Mon Mothma escape and then Clea getting into the hospital. Feels very Bourne movie-ish. Yeah. That's interesting to know.
That's a nice surprise for you guys.
Very good to know.
I didn't know that. I think that was the tensest. That was probably the tensest moment of this arc.
I loved it.
I felt like after this, the tension kind of dies out, because you feel like, I mean, everything else is safe and it's going to happen, and people are going to escape and people are going to make it out. But this was the one part of this arc where I wasn't sure where things were going to go. And so, you could probably examine it and be like, well, if this place is really held down by the ISB, there'd be a lot more guards, blah, blah, blah. You can pick it apart. But ultimately, I like the scene because they tie it back to this lesson he got from her about like the willingness to do things that might hurt others, right? Like, because you hear the report later, it's like it killed some guards, it killed some hospital staff. Like, that was a willingness she learned from Luthen. And so you see that lesson and kind of that reflection. And so I think the flashback works really well there.
Yeah.
So I did like that. It was one of the more tense moments of the arc.
And two, with her, she's always been a super interesting character, regardless, in very like brief moments the whole time. And so getting a big focus on her was good. It also kind of keeps the whole Luthen line of things going, right? Like if she makes it out, she is continuing on what he was doing, and ultimately it's going to be with a rebellion. I think we'll probably end up seeing a bit of her in comics, books, things like that. Probably not on screen.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think we do get that. I also like. Are we good with the whole Luthen angle? Like,
I was going to say we weren't completely right, because we talked about Cassian killing him, but he did go out as a product of his own teaching. So
he did.
We did talk about that. So we got something halfway right, I guess.
Partial credit. We'll go 3 points.
Just fitting.
Ravenclaw. Kevin's a Ravenclaw.
No, I'm not.
You're a Hufflepuff?
I'm not smart enough to be a Ravenclaw.
So let's move in to the other flip side of this, to Dedra, right? So she very quickly is removed from this. Dedra, Partagaz, so she's like arrested. Her essentially her she thinks her life is on the line because pretty much Krennic implies that. But she does fail. Luthen does die. They don't get the information that they need out of him. Lonnie had access to her stuff this whole time. It's just classic, again, Imperial incompetence. And in the most, it was Easter eggish, but also just a good finish. You see her in that jumpsuit that we have Cassian in back in season 1. She's wearing the white and orange jumpsuit.
Yeah.
And they give the command. What's the command that they give over the intercom? They say it in the episode, right? When she's like getting ready to go to bed. Did they say it or no?
Oh,
the only one I remember is the when they're working. What is it on something?
Yeah, but you hear the deal and like all the lights go out and then she just breaks down.
On program. That's on program. But I think that's when they were working.
Yeah, I don't think they said that. But you hear the things all like flipping where if they step off they die. So like she's never leaving.
Rot in jail.
She's gonna rot in prison, which that's kind of what the Imperials deserve. So it's cool to see like she chases this thing.
What do you think happens to these prisons though once the Empire falls? You think she's still sitting in there?
Oh, that's a good point. She's in the program now that the New Republic did.
She might have snuck off somewhere to a corner of the galaxy. Who knows?
She's in the First Order now.
Maybe so.
She deserves that too.
I like that. The First Order. Yeah,
I would like to see that.
That's actually something they could explore. Dedra after the Empire falls and the New Republic decides that they all need to get integrated back into society.
That'd be kind of fascinating.
The New Republic's going to bomb it. That'd be brutal.
Yeah. Could be. So I thought that was ironic for her. And then Partagaz, the classic, 1940s war criminal, he goes out on his own terms.
Yeah.
So I thought he was actually going to leave when they were like, they're ready for you. And then when I realized he's like, give me a minute, I was like, oh no, he's not leaving. It was very World War II movie-ish there. Yeah. So that's the end of our whole little ISB Luthen arc, and that really that kind of took place over the whole thing. They wrapped that up for them too in the last episode. But let's move into Cassian's story. So he's firmly with the rebellion. He's still not necessarily listening to all their orders on Yavin. I love how they just keep making Yavin out to be like this well-oiled machine, like this protection we have at Yavin, and it's like, well, kind of, but also let's not act like this is the greatest, military fleet we've ever seen. But Cassian's still never quite listening to them. You got K2 playing cards with them, which was a lot of fun. I loved that scene.
Yeah.
So like they do that, and then they have to go rescue Clea, which I thought was really cool that she's sending that little telegram deal to Wilman, and he's kept it charged the whole time. Like they never quite get away from being Luthen's people, which I thought they keep that Luthen string going all the way through this arc for better or worse. But I thought that was pretty cool how they've got a signal coming in, and then they have to go rescue her. But Kevin, kind of like what you said, we knew we knew Cassian and K2 would get out, so we just assumed the other two would. So maybe it lacked a little bit of the emotion that had we not known what was going to happen, but the action was still there nonetheless.
Yeah, and one of the things I missed, you mentioned with Will, like he seems very attached to Luthen, and we just never got to see what their relationship was. I feel like that's another thing. Again, the nature of the season. I feel like that would have been a cool thing to see, is what their relationship was like, because he seems very attached to Luthen, more so than I would have expected.
Yeah.
But K2 by far was the star of the second episode.
Yeah.
I loved, like I said, it was a lot of waiting, just getting to Clea in the room. And for me, it just didn't have the same tension because they're going to get there because they got to get the information. She has the information. They come away with the information. So that whole waiting part I felt like was a little drawn out, but man, K2 cracks me up. Alan Tudyk is so good. I mean, this is the first time in this show I was laughing out loud at the TV.
Yeah.
It was really good, but they also balanced it really well because he's still so intimidating. Like the sight of an Imperial KX droid just wrecking people is terrifying. And so
it is.
I thought it was really cool how they balanced, like, you're laughing, but then you're also kind of terrified by just this monstrous hunk of metal that's just wrecking people. So that was probably one of my favorite parts of this whole arc was K2 getting some action. That was fun.
Yeah, typical K2 didn't want to wait with the ship. So he had to go and help, just like in Rogue One. He didn't want to stay with the ship, and he went there to help for a bit. But yeah, I liked what he did with this. This was awesome. Just he knocked that guy off the walkway. No, that was great. I love that. I thought he was gonna say yes at first, just to blend in, but it's not K2.
Nope.
I mean,
that was funny.
Yeah, that was great.
He never does great blending in, like even in Rogue One on Jeddah when he tries to, and it's like and then they're like, we're gonna send you for reprogramming or whatever, and it's like you would think they might train him to act like one of those droids in that year that they had, but clearly he's a strong-willed droid. But I did hear an interesting thing on the K2, because I thought this was going to be very heavy K2, because I feel like in Rogue One, him and Cassian have a really good relationship.
Yeah.
And you just don't get a ton of that in this arc.
Cassian's
I guess
kind of a jerk to him.
He is, and I was wondering why we don't get much K2. Yeah. And I guess someone asked Tony Gilroy this: why do we not get much K2? And he said, really, if you look at the character itself, even in Rogue One, you can't get a ton of him because he's like 9 foot tall. He's huge. He's always going to be a liability as far as being seen. And if you're doing like a spy type genre, you can't have the 9 foot Imperial droid walking around with you. So it does make sense. Like, okay, this is why his spots have to be very intentional, very a moment has to be written for him to show up versus him just being in the moment. And so once I heard that, I was like, yeah, you know what, that does make a lot more sense. If they're going to be doing some very forward facing things, you can't just have an Imperial security droid walking around with people, because that would draw attention. Makes sense. So logically, I'm okay with that. Selfishly, I'm like, I really would like more, but that is really like well thought out, because that's why fans don't write this stuff, right? Because if we were writing this, K2 would be in every scene,
all of it,
and doesn't make sense. So you need someone who's good at things like that.
That makes sense, because I mean, like protocol droids and astromechs, those are universal. Everyone has those, so you could have them with, good and bad. But only the Empire has a KX type.
He still has the Imperial logo on him, right?
Yeah, he does. It's funny that they didn't take that off.
Yeah. It's like they thought they needed him just in case, but he never acted the part anyway, so they could have very much so taken that off.
Did you know that wasn't me?
Yeah.
That was a great sequence.
Interesting.
I love where he grabs that guy and uses it as a human shield.
Oh, the human meat shield. Yeah, that was kind of creepy, wasn't it? I saw a still of that. It was
before
very
we move
creepy.
on, Melshi. I love having Melshi in this.
Yeah, that was cool.
I think it's cool, him coming in from Narkina 5 in season 1, and we get him through season 2, and now he really has a place in Rogue One, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I was glad they chose to incorporate him in this way, because his presence means a little bit more now in Rogue One. So I liked that. That was good.
Yeah, no, I agree there. One thing on this arc as well with Cassian, we'll get to the big reveal of Cassian in a few minutes, but just talking about where the rebellion's at, what do you think about the whole tension they have with like Bail? Essentially, Bail's not a big fan of Luthen.
Yeah.
He appears to be more of a fan of Saw than Luthen, maybe. Mon Mothma more of a fan of Luthen than Saw. And then these other two people who are just very like against all of this nonsense, because they seem to be very disconnected from both extremes there with Luthen and Saw. I thought that was quite an interesting dynamic, that they're probably just always going around on Yavin without much like breaking out and going back to where they are, I would assume, because Bail, I guess, is kind of very under wraps at this point. I don't know who the others were. Mon Mothma never leaves, so I thought that was an interesting little political dynamic here.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like it mirrors the Empire, right? Because kind of like if you look at this whole arc of their downfall, it's like they all want to be the person in charge, and they kind of fight over it, and it leads to all this infighting. And so, they kind of are never on the same page, which is the whole Daedra thing and doing her own sting and like all the things that came from that. Like, it's all like, well, no, I'm in charge. I want to be in charge. You kind of see the same thing with these people that are kind of used to being in charge. These are people who are used to being in positions where people look up to them. And so now that they're in the rebellion, even though they know nothing about a rebellion, they're like, well, we should be in charge, right? So you do see kind of that ignorance of, and I do think it's interesting because I think Saul, you know what you're getting, right? You can point him at the Empire and he's going to go full steam and blow something up. I think Luthen, they don't know what they're getting. And I think that's why they prefer Saul maybe to Luthen. It was really interesting, the infighting and kind of the conversation that took place.
They're also 100% correct on Luthen, by the way. It's just interesting that you've got like Mon Mothma, I guess, has this soft spot for him, which if you look at her, he's the only reason she's alive. Right? Like he gets the way out for her. He comes to the right conclusions regardless of the wrong practices to necessarily get there. But he always comes to the right rebellion conclusion for the most part. But then they almost treat him like this patron saint of the rebellion, which I thought was a little weird, where it just started coming into like, well, you're talking bad about Saul and that just feels real dirty. Well, no, he was, or not Saul, talking about Luthen. But like, you could easily talk bad about him and it would be okay. So it was kind of weird that they started playing him up like he was, this big sacrificial hero, when really he just kind of was a victim of the thing that his own words, right? Like he's set this up in motion. But then he turns into like this martyr for them, which I thought was an odd route to take. Just me.
I agree. I think Luthen is best when he's left up to your own interpretation of what was right and what was wrong, right? Like how far can you justify the ends justify the means, right? Like, because that's kind of what Cassian said. He's like, well, we got a rebellion. Like, that's why we're here. And I just thought that was a little too simple, right? For some of the things that Luthen has done, just to say, well, yeah, but it's all right because we got a rebellion. I like that Luthen was a complicated character, and I think to keep him that way, to me, makes the most sense, because it's interesting. Luthen's version of sacrifice usually involved sacrificing other people too. Like, it wasn't
not him. Yeah,
it wasn't a super like he gave up his life to it. Yes, like he dedicated all to it, but it also involved like, I'm willing to sacrifice all these other people too. Which, is that a good thing? Can you justify that if it works out in the end? Like, I like leaving that question unanswered, and I feel like they kind of tried to answer it with that, which is being like, well, no, it's fine because we have a rebellion.
I think Saul,
not to mention there's a bunch of other rebel cells, right? Like Saul and the Ghost Crew, and we got Cal Kestis out there. Like, there's a lot of fighting against this empire going on.
Well, that's the thing, is Saul is so like easy to read universally, right? And so when he bites the dust, everyone just keeps moving on. It's like, oh, thank goodness, it's about time, right? But Luthen, it's just like you're just kind of rehashing this deal over him. I thought that was, I think he's just universally beloved as a character as far as Andor fans go. Tony Gilroy included, right? Like he sees Luthen, and if you go back to season 1, once you get past that initial intro to Cassian, it's Luthen gets the whole ball rolling for this whole story. He pulls Cassian into this. It's a lot. He's a big part of it. So I do get where it's like his line of followers. Yeah, they really did kind of drink his Kool-Aid, but also they see like the bad with him as well. And so, I don't know. I just thought it was an odd thing to dedicate a lot of time to. Ryan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Just about the whole rebellion thing, actually, now that you guys mention it, just, I was just really thinking when you guys were talking about the council and, Luthen and Saw, and it's really interesting when you see the original trilogy and, you see everybody just having conversations, you see everybody cheering together. Just seeing that, it makes you think, the alliance is just squeaky clean. And, there's no differences. They all align on everything, even though they believe in rebelling against the Empire. They all have their own ways of thinking. So I really thought that was great to do this. with Andor, just showing us everything and not, still going the squeaky clean route, because it would have been a whole different story, and we wouldn't have had all these struggles just to get to where we are with the original trilogy. So I really liked that.
That makes sense. And
no, that's true. Yeah.
And I think too, like with Luthen's, he is responsible for, well, Lonnie is responsible for it, but Luthen is responsible for getting these plans. And you could look at the destruction of the Death Star as the kind of thing that maybe does bring some unity to the rebellion, right? Like,
for sure,
we got this victory, so maybe we should quit fighting and actually focus on this thing that we've accomplished. So you got to give credit there. Like, yes, you can criticize him and say he's a terrible guy, but there is an aspect of it does lead to something that at least maybe unifies them. So I just don't think you can separate the two.
Here's a good way to look at this, in my opinion. So you've got Mon Mothma's cell is the Luthen one, right? Like she's very pro Luthen as far as her camp goes. You have Saw Gerrera is his own thing out there, and then you've got Bail Organa's camp. Is it Fulcrum? Is that his little way of going about this? Because Ahsoka, Bail kind of hand in hand. So if you want the squeaky clean side of things, this, moral high ground side of things, you've got your whole Fulcrum cell, which, you've got your Ghost Crew and everything that goes with that. So their big contribution to the rebellion is it's kind of the whole selfless deal, right? You follow Bail's moral high ground to Ezra taking Thrawn and his forces away at his own sacrifice. You have Saul doing his thing. And then on the Luthen side of things, a little bit darker, a little more high risk, high reward, you've got that Death Star side of things where you're sacrificing everything to get to there. Other people, all of it. So both sides play their own big part, but obviously the destruction of the Death Star, I think it's
pretty
probably
big one.
Probably a bigger deal, but that's a 1-2 punch there that gets the rebellion going. You've got Grand Admiral Thrawn gone, no Death Star. That's Bail's side. That's Mon Mothma's side. So interesting to kind of look at it that way as well. And now there's not like, you could say Bail's side, that was his connection, right? Like how much is he doing whatever? You do have Leia in Rebels as well. But this was the much more serious side of things, not squeaky clean, like Ryan said.
Yeah.
Last part of Cassian's story. Bix runs back to the planet with looks like it's in Indiana and maybe Illinois or Nebraska. And then she's got Cassian's kid with her and decided not to tell him. That I don't know. A lot of people really like that. They're like, "Oh, I'm in tears."
I liked it.
Ryan, let's hear what you have to say about it.
I loved it personally. It was so well. Let me ask: did you guys want her? Like how?
I'm glad she lived.
Yeah. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah. No, I think, and I don't mind the presence of the kid. Like I think it's a part of Sorry, I don't want to steal your thunder. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. But I was just wondering. Like, I'm glad she survived, and I think it's a bummer. Obviously, he dies. We all know he dies, but they can live on. They could be his legacy, huh?
I said, wait, what?
Wait, what did I say?
The Cassian dies.
Oh! Sorry, shouldn't have spoiled that.
Spoiler.
No, but I think it's good that she had their child, she survived, obviously, and they can live on with his legacy. It's just going to be a real bummer when they find out, especially for Bix. And side note, B2 as a buddy, and he was happy. But if he finds out, he's going to go back to depressed B2. I was thinking about that. So I was thinking about B2 as well. But no, I really like that they had a child. I mean, it's not going to get to meet his father. It's going to be really upsetting for Bix. Obviously, the child's not going to know. But I want that. I want a Star Wars story. Bix and the child's name.
Yeah.
A Star Wars story. I want to see, I don't know if she would join the rebellion. I don't know what plans they have, but I want to see that. But yeah, I'm okay with the child.
In my head, she stays away from the rebellion, probably with it being that she has the baby.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
My thought there. She kind of lays low as much as possible.
I don't mind a fun story with them. They could just living their life on the crops.
Yeah,
with B2.
Got stuff going on out there.
Yeah.
I like to think maybe the child's name is Casa from so that B2 still gets to do, because that was Cassian's original name.
Yeah.
So we still get the B2 stutter when he says his name.
Yeah, that was
B2, man. I am glad we got a shot of B2. So I
happy
like
B2.
I don't mind the child. I like there's a part of Cassian's legacy that lives on.
Yeah.
Right. That there's this part of his life that was sacrificed not by his own choosing, that there's still a symbol of them together, like this thing that's going to carry on even though they did not stay together. But I saw it was a very recent interview where they were talking to Diego Luna about Andor's character, and just that he kind of learns how important love is in terms of sacrifice, and like that you learn what you're sacrificing for. And I just felt like, man, what better way to understand love and sacrifice than if he knew about the kid. Like, I don't mind that there's a child. I just wish, I don't like that it's kept from him, that he doesn't know. Because I feel like if you give him the space to know he has a kid and still make that decision, like that's a huge sacrifice. And that really sits on that, in that interview, talking about how love being a driving force of sacrifice. Man, like there's nothing a parent won't do for their kid. I mean, I think I would have liked that better than it being kept from him. I feel like he's had something taken from him because he would want to know. That bothers me a little bit. But at the same time, I like that it's there, that there's a part of him moving on. But I would have preferred for him to at least know he has a child, and that that's something he's also dying for.
Yeah.
Rather than being ignorant of it. So that was one of the things that I didn't love about this arc. And it's a personal preference, right? I don't think it's necessarily bad writing or anything. It's just, I didn't like it. So,
well, I got a question for you then. I mean, of course we have Rogue One, can't change the next story with a prequel, but what if he knew and then he didn't stay with the rebellion and left?
That would change things.
Yeah.
It
would completely change things.
Yeah, and that's an interesting question, right? Like, does your love for your child compel you to stop fighting or keep fighting? That's a big question, right? We all that's a question people would handle differently. That's super interesting.
I'm with Kevin. I think I'm not a huge fan of how they went about it. Again, him having a kid, that's fine. But man, think of all of like the movie that comes to mind is Armageddon, right? Like he's gonna, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Armageddon yet.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you for real?
No, I haven't. But I mean, you could tell me. I mean, it's a really old movie. I should have seen it by now.
You should have. So Bruce Willis doesn't make it back. So he's got his daughter back home now. She's like an adult daughter, but he's gonna see her when she gets back. And I just think that if Cassian knew somehow Bix is still okay, and then he's like, I'll be back after this mission, we're done with this, and then that mission is Rogue One, and he doesn't come home to it. I mean, that is just a gut punch, knowing that he was about to walk away.
Yeah.
And then, he takes one from the Death Star for the whole galaxy and doesn't come back to his kid. I think that makes you watch Rogue One in a completely different light. Versus now, it's like the viewer goes, "Oh, that's really sad. He had a kid that he doesn't know. And he was probably never going to know about." So it's kind of like, well, at least he doesn't know. You can kind of watch it that way, right? So we know on the back, they're like, oh man, what a shame. But he has no clue. So to me, it doesn't add the weight to Rogue One for the character. It adds the weight to Rogue One for the viewer, but not for the character.
Right.
I don't know. It's not like it ruins the series for me or nothing.
Well, and two things. One, if you saw me staring weirdly at the screen, it's because I was trying to see Ryan's shirt. That's a cool shirt.
It's from Crafting on Ilum. It's TR's shirt.
That's cool.
Shout out Crafting really cool. on Ilum.
Oh, nice. That's real cool.
Yeah,
go check out her shop.
That's a good one. Yeah. There's already a little bit of weight to that. Like that speech that he gives where he's like, we have to finish this, where he's trying to get Jen to let him go and to join in on this thing. And that they've all done terrible things, but they want to finish this fight. I think there's already a little bit of weight to that now because we know he obviously knows Bix is out there, but man, it would have been a lot. That's a lot heavier of a speech if he knows he has a kid out there too.
Heavy.
But who knows? Who knows what he would have done?
Yep. And again, a happy B2 that makes me happy.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
That was
me too.
Any last thoughts on this finale before we rank our top 3 moments?
I mean, the montage at the end was good. Like
it catches
it's a
you up on
very
everybody.
good segue into we're here, right? Like we've arrived now at Rogue One, showing everybody in their respective places. Thought that was just a really good closing moment for everything.
I agree.
Cassian looks at the Force healer. I like that.
Yeah, that was it. That was very interesting. Gave her
and Bail just tells him, "May the Force be with you," right before it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So
how about the barber on Yavin must only have a bowl? Because between Mon Mothma and the Force healer, they must use the same bowl. But side note, did y'all see the meme, the Mon Mothma meme, where it's like a play on Luthen's speech? It's like, what did I sacrifice? And she's like, comforts, and she's going through all these things: wardrobe, coolness, and it goes through all this.
That's funny.
Good hair. Probably better for her hair. Keep it healthy by keeping it shorter.
That's funny.
Yeah, could be. But going in, we've got our top 3 moments of season 2. Who wants to go first? These may overlap.
Yeah,
you don't have to justify your top moments like as much. I mean, I don't think we're gonna air. I think we're all gonna have. Yeah, so let's go 3. Kevin, go 3.
Oh man, Luthen's death.
Oh, okay.
In hindsight, I really like Luthen's death. Again, kind of like we talked about already, so I'm not going to rehash it a ton. Like, I think it fits so well with his speech from season 1 that he's given up on being the hero, right? He knows he's not the hero. He doesn't get the blaze of glory. Like, he goes out at the hand of his protege, who I feel like fits in with Luthen, right? Like, his sacrifice has always required a lot of other people. And here we see the same thing. It's this person who he's closest to is the person who knows him and also has to pull the plug on him because it's what she's learned, right? It's what she knows is important in this moment. So I love the way all that was tied in. I love that he dies essentially forgotten, alone in the hands of the enemy, because that is what he submitted himself to from the beginning. Like, Luthen did some terrible things, but he was consistent, right? And he was committed to this thing that he was going to have to be in order to accomplish the goal he had in mind. He knew he was going to have to be this guy. He was this guy, and it produced the end that he thought he was going to meet. So I think it's his end is just very poetic in that nature. And I the more I think about it, the more I like the way his story comes to a close there. So
yeah, put it that
number
way.
3.
Ryan, what's your number 3?
Oh man, this is difficult.
It is. There were a lot of really good moments in this arc.
You want me to give my 3 first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going Gorman Massacre at number 3. Andor's, the complaint people have for Andor is it's like Anbor and it's super boring.
And snore.
Well, and snore. You watch the Gorman Massacre, that is far from boring. Man,
yeah.
you got the blasters, you've got explosions, you've got the droids, you've got Cyril turning into a bad man, you've got some hand-to-hand combat. Gorman Massacre, very well shot. Big fan of that scene, big fan of that arc. Fun fact, I think that episode, Who Are You? That is the highest ranked Andor episode on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, okay.
As far as the score goes, it's like a 9.9 or 9.8 or something like that. It's like way up there. Very
it's my favorite
good
episode. Yeah,
mine's the next one. But Ryan, number 3. Number 3.
I was trying to figure out where I would rank it, but yeah, I'll go with number 3, the Gorman Massacre for sure. Yeah.
Kevin, number 2.
I wrestled with number 2. I ended up bumping Mon Mothma's speech out of my top 3.
Oh, wow.
How dare you?
Listen, I'm sorry. It was great. It did give me goosebumps, but I felt like I had to pick something different than all just the serious things, even though it was so good. So that and the TIE Avenger wedding sequence, the mishmash of that, those fell out. Those were right outside my top 3.
Yeah. That was good.
It's just
that wedding sequence. Really that was a good
with
one.
With the Niamo song and dancing. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for K2.
Okay.
I love Alan Tudyk. I think he brings such life to that character, and
Yeah.
so his action sequence. I listen. I don't know what it was about it. I was
In
laughing.
episode 11.
It was awesome.
Episode 11, right?
Yeah. It was, and I think it stood out because the episode was otherwise just a lot of kind of waiting and sitting. But I just love that sequence. You get a ton of him, his character, his personality, just all the things we talked about, that he does not care about anything. And so just that we got to have at least like a short sequence that was all about, it really was kind of all about K2.
It was.
I loved that sequence. And so that is a sequence I would go back again and I would just laugh at again and I would love it.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. So I had to fit that in there.
That particular sequence, like Kevin, I know you're not like a professional wrestling fan, right? I don't know if you are or not. But what happens in these crazy matches where there's like 6 people in a ladder match and stuff, like only one person's going to win. It's predetermined. I get it. It's not fake. It's scripted. But you get there and all of the people in this match, though, they all get their spot, right? They all get to do this one crazy thing where the fan of whoever that wrestler is goes home going, wow, I can't believe I saw Jeff Hardy jump through a guy on a ladder, a table, whatever. And so that's what that was for K2. Like you've got all these people that need to be fed as far as the fans. And so the K2 fan's going to go, did you see K2 bust through and get up to that apartment floor? And like he took everybody out. That was great. And so that's kind of what that was in the professional wrestling equivalency.
I like that.
It's the spot for him. Yeah.
I'm a K2 fan. So
yeah. I can follow that. I'll go my number 2 next. We'll keep in that order. Mon Mothma's speech. She's like shaking as she's saying it. She did it in a green room. Genevieve O'Reilly did, and I mean, just the fact that she brought that much passion to anything filmed in a room that is all green with nobody there except her and a camera. I can't get past that. It's incredible. Shot it very well. Anything in that rotunda as well gives the prequel vibes. Love it. The emperor can't get taken down by the Jedi in the Senate, but his downfall ultimately starts with a politician in the Senate attacking him there without him there to defend himself. So kind of poetic there. Like that. Ryan, number 2 for you.
3 is hard. Only 3. My 2. I was thinking Bix Revenge. I like that.
Oh yeah,
she went through so much in season 1. The torture.
Yeah,
so that was satisfying.
When she's walking away from that.
Yeah,
like her and Cassie, and then it's like they blow it up.
Yeah,
that's good.
That was awesome.
I forgot about that scene. It leaves a really big impact. That is a good one.
Yeah, it happens quickly, but good.
It's a deep
cut.
That.
I
forgot about that scene.
Yeah,
that is really good.
That was one of the best parts of that whole arc, was the way it closed out on that sequence. That was really good.
That was awesome.
Bix is she gets a well-rounded story out of this season as well.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Not everybody survives to get that. So
I wasn't sure she was going to be in season 2. At first, before it was, anything was released on it, I was like, I hope she is. So that was
she would be with it enough, the character, to be in the season.
Yeah.
So Kevin, your number 1 moment. I think we all may have the same number 1 moment, but we'll go ahead and see.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe not. Maybe you're about to be like the time when K2 gets broken in half by a droid on Gorman.
No, that's not what it's going to be. It's Cyril's Gorman story.
So we have different. Yeah. So
okay. Now I'm curious as what yours is, because for me this was by far the most compelling and interesting and just like on the edge of my seat moment of this story was Cyril's part in all this in that 3rd arc. Again, one of the most tragic ends to a character in anything, but especially in Star Wars, right? Like, just if you really want to highlight what it looks like for people to be used and how soul crushing it is and how hurtful it is to ignore people, right? And not to value people. Like Cyril is a great example of what it does to a person when they come to the realization that all this that they believed and all this that they did, that it was nothing, and that everything they fought for, that like at the end they were nobody. Like that moment and that scene, it's so well acted. Like just the amount of emotions you can pack onto one person's face
in 5 seconds.
I'm still amazed by that.
Yeah.
Which, good night. I mean, a lot of these actors, whether it's Genevieve O'Reilly or Skarsgård or I'm on going blank right now. Like the facial acting in this show was just incredible and it needs to be because of the type of story it is. Like it's not the type of story where they're directly telling you what's going on in their minds, but man, like some of the acting in this was so good. And I think Kyle Soller, like he's got to get.
Dedra kills it too with the face acting. Denise Go,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. But he's one who just in this sequence, like the movement from confusion to shock to anger to just emptiness, like all of those emotions in such rapid succession, like it was so good. And that this is the one sequence in this series I think that'll stick in my mind was Cyril's end and just how incredibly upsetting it was. So that's my top moment, just for sheer impact. For me.
I include that in the Gorman Massacre for mine, by the way.
That's fair.
I'd like to throw that in there.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's in mine too.
Yeah. I'd like to make that known on the record.
Everything that happens,
it leads up to that point, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. It's like a heavy hitting moment. It's technically, as far as the critics go, it's the most heavy hitting moment in the series. That arc, how it builds up. Yeah. My number one is Cassian breaking Mon out from Coruscant. So I separate her speech with that because him breaking her out starts far before, because you get the whole Luthen tells her, hey, Bell's guys, not good. They've got a plant, and my guy's going to get you out. On the same side of that, you've got Cassian having to become Luthen's guy again, and Luthen's like, oh, I call and you're here, right? You get that mental game with it, and it's like, is Mon going to trust him? Is Cassian with Luthen or the rebellion? Yes to all of those, right? Like he's with Luthen, but when Cassian gets her out, he relates to her. He's not he doesn't immediately say, I've got friends everywhere. He starts relating to her movement first, and then he has to do that. I've got friends everywhere. And so, yes, he's Luthen's guy, but at the same time, he tells her, welcome to the rebellion, which you see here. No, Cassian is here for the rebellion. What Luthen's doing supports the rebellion, obviously. Like it's all one and the same, and they kind of intermesh, sort of. But I just loved that transition because the title is Welcome to the Rebellion. And that's very much it. She delivers the speech, and it's not just her getting to the rebellion. I think it's a big Cassian rebellion thing as well. So I like that a lot. It's tie-in with Rebels too. I love it. So to me, that's
good.
It's hard to argue between this. I think this is my favorite moment in all of Andor, but the one way out is they're like 1A and B there. Like they kind of go hand in hand, and it's cool that they're both an escape scene, right? You kind of get that tension there, but I think this is my favorite Andor series scene as well.
Yeah. One of the things I love about that sequence, is the massive juxtaposition between Cassian just like casually offing people and Mon's like just shocked. She's just what is happening right now? And like the realization of what she's now walked into, kind of going along with that welcome to the rebellion.
Welcome to the rebellion.
That's such a good sequence as they march through and the pace. Like I love the jarring difference between the two of them there.
It looks cool too, like where they filmed and everything. Really cool.
Yeah,
that's
really
cool.
Ryan, what's your number one?
I was torn with yours, honestly. I wanted to include that so bad. I love that sequence of him breaking her out. It was so epic. It was definitely needed. We needed to see that. But I have to go with Mon Mothma's speech. I've watched that so many times. I loved it. It's so powerful. It's so necessary. It's something that we all really needed to hear. So it has to be. And it has to be included, and it has to be number one for me.
I like it. I love just when she's shaking at the very end, just delivering the monsters coming for us all. Like that's just such good acting when she's shaking and saying it. So I thought that's such.
And
a good
I love
moment.
the alternating back and forth between her and just the sheer panic of the Imperial officers. Like what is happening? Like shut this down.
Off. That was awesome.
It just adds to the tension because you're wondering when are they going to hit the switch? When are they going to cut this thing off? And it keeps cutting back to her just escalating the speech. It was really good.
because she knew it was going to be shut off. She knew something was going to happen,
some
so
point.
she had to.
Y'all are making me feel bad for not having it in my top 3 now.
Well, we two out of 3 of us covered.
Reevaluate, baby.
So that's
honorable mentions.
Right, number 4 for Kevin. So that's a wrap for Andor forever. Kind of sad.
Yeah, it is a bummer.
It's been
said already.
A busy full 4 weeks of Star Wars. Man,
yeah,
like holy cow! Just awesome. Digesting all of this over this month.
Yeah,
Celebration.
It's been a lot.
Tales.
Yeah,
Andor, Revenge of the Sith. A lot going on, which is a good segue into what we're gonna do after this. So, next week, I think we should talk. Y'all can pick. Do y'all want to talk Tales of the Underworld or start speculating and talking through some of the Celebration stuff? I was thinking the Maul series. We'll go whichever way y'all want to go there.
Oh, wow, that's
the Maul series. We got the longest time till it gets there.
Yeah,
and Tales of the Underworld becomes less new by the day. So,
we should do that first then.
Yeah. Maybe we do Tales, and then maybe all of June we talk about Star Wars Celebration announcements.
That would be better,
That'd be fun. So
Tales.
Next week we're talking Tales of the Underworld, which requires Kevin to watch it.
I'm ashamed, guys. I'm ashamed. I haven't seen it. It's been so busy.
It's a quick but fun watch.
I've been missing it. I know they're not long. It's just man, Andor's killed me.
They're long if you have ads.
It's a lot because there's a lot of information you have to retain.
Yeah.
Especially
when that'll be this weekend.
Yep. So next week, Tales of the Underworld. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time.